I hate the PC storage system. I sincerely do. I went to deposit some stuff that I picked up lately, and I ran out of space in the PC again. And if you remember how it wasn't so long ago that I lacked space for the first time, well, it happened again. To be fair, the first time around I didn't remove that much stuff, and I didn't remove too much stuff this time either, because there's a lot of stuff that I like to keep either, well, for various reasons, because I'm an obsessive compulsive item collector in games, so I try to avoid selling items as much as possible, but sometimes there's just no choice. So this time I sold the bitter medicine, among others, because I just never use this stuff. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like I really care about my Pokemon's happiness. If you've been paying any attention to what I've been saying in these LPs, you would know that. But there's the small matter of my Raikou knowing return, and it's already weak enough as it is, so I don't want to make it even weaker by feeding it bitter medicine. So, hey, what's everyone's problem with littering? Everyone's talking about that on this route. What, did everyone's parents get savagely murdered by cigarette butts or something? So why the big freaking obsession with littering? Now don't get me wrong, littering is bad, but when everyone in some place starts talking about it, it's just, well, it's not like I have any words to describe the situation, because it's just plain stupid. Almost as stupid as the people who litter. I've seen once a mountain of, cigarette butts right next to, those trash cans especially made for cigarettes in public places? Yeah, you know what I mean. I've seen mountains of this stuff right next to the can. And, it makes me wonder just how stupid can people get. On one hand, you got everyone's acting like really concerned about the environment, but at the same time, they don't act like it at all. It's like, if there's anything I hate more than everything else, it's hypocrites. Now, I don't want to come off as a granola hippie, because, in my opinion, they're no better than those who pollute needlessly. I hate them just as much. Oh yeah, I wasn't littering. Of course, I was riding around on my bike, you stupid piece of shit. Why the hell would I litter while I'm riding around on a bike? Look, Ma, no brains! But that's enough of this. Let's talk about something else. Like, for example, how I look like a complete idiot in the last video because I did a few really stupid mistakes. First things first, you remember that crazy woman on Route 5? Yeah, the one who looked like she escaped from an insane asylum, and she gave me the cleanse tag, and I said that it would provide more incentive to use ghosts since it boosts the power of ghost moves. Well, guess what? That would be the spell tag. The cleanse tag is for reducing the rate of random encounters, which should give you an idea of just how much I use those items. Cleanse tag, never, because as you can see, I'm not about to deprive me of some valuable experience. And the spell tag, well, I'll be honest, competitively, type boosting items are rarely ever a good idea. Usually, it'll be in its place the expert belt or the life orb or a choice item or something like that. But type boosting items, really, really rare. Well, I don't know if it would count as a type boosting item since it boosts the damage of two types by 20%, but I've already mentioned this previously in my LPs. Lustrous Orb Palkia isn't a bad idea. But otherwise, type boosting items are a no-no because they boost one type by 20% in Generation 4 and only 10% in Generations 2 and 3. Now I know that I'm using some right now, but that's because there's nothing better to use. Competitively in Generation 2, the only items that were really worthwhile were Chestoberry, Lumberry, and Leftovers. So with so few really viable items, there needed to be a way to control the usage of these items so that you wouldn't have, for example, 6 leftovers on a team, and that's how item claws came to be. And the addition of a lot of useful items since then, well, that's what makes item claws really not relevant these days. In fact, it's not even part of the standard rules anymore, and I don't think it was part of the standard rules in Generation 3 either, thanks to the introduction of the choice band among others. But yeah, nowadays item clause is completely pointless. And another mistake that I made in the last video was, remember the guy in Cerulean with the item finder? Well, the item finder didn't detect an item that was, you know, in that field of sorts. There was a hidden item there in red, blue, and yellow, but I thought it was reacting to an item in the same area, but in fact it was reacting to the Berserk gene that is located, as far as I remember, where the entrance to Cerulean Cave used to be. Now in Hard Gold and Soul Silver it's not there anymore. They didn't bring back the Berserk gene. Instead, they brought back the Cerulean Cave itself, which is a winning trade in my book. Now, of course, it would have been interesting to know how stuff like Slowbro or Slowking or Licky Licky would have performed with Berserk gene, but I still prefer the return of the Cerulean Cave. Now, I've been thinking about this lately. There was someone who pointed out quite a while ago, in fact, the reason that the level curve is so crappy in Gold, Silver, Crystal. And for once, that doesn't have to do with the presence of Kanto, it's because of how Johto itself is laid out. Because once you reach Ekritik, you can go either to the left to Olivine and Cyanwood, or you could go to the right to Mahogany and the Lake of Rage. So that means the moment that you reach Ekritik, you can beat the Kimono Girls to surf across Route 42, and then you can reach Mahogany, and from there the Lake of Rage without having to beat the 4th gym leader. So that's why you see wild Pokemon that are so low-leveled all the way to the Lake of Rage, because you can get there before even beating Morty. So that would be another reason for the level curve in Johto. Now, as you can imagine, I am not very happy with the way they designed that. What I would have done if I were them is that I would have had the guy in the toll booth that leads to Route 42, that he would block your path until you beat Jasmine. I don't know why he would block your path, but inventing an excuse wouldn't be so hard. After all, you got the really thirsty guards around Saffron in red, blue, and yellow, so I'm sure they could have pulled off something similar. You know, just so that I would face trainers and wild Pokemon with decent levels from Jasmine onwards to the Lake of Rage. Oh, it's for a rematch, but I'm not going to take care of it right now. I'm going to take care of it off-screen. And looking at what awaits me to the right of the screen, I'd say, yep, that I am in the area of the entrance to the rock tunnel, though I'm not heading to the rock tunnel right now because my first priority is getting the power plant back on. Now, as you may remember, I have done a little recap of the Sevi Island side quest at the end of my Red LP, and for fun I checked out the lineups of the admins that you fight in the Rocket Warehouse on 5 Island, and I noticed that their lineups are eerily similar, not completely identical, but rather similar to those of Athena and Apollo in Gold, Silver, Crystal, Hard Gold, Soul Silver. So, could that actually be Athena and Apollo? Well, there is no way to know for sure because the lineups aren't completely identical, they're just really similar, but I think it's a plausible theory, actually. So, all that's left to do now is surf to the power plant, which is why I put Raikou as my lead, water Pokemon galore, and I'm surprised that I'm actually meeting something else than Tentacool for a change. Goldings by surfing, that's not the usual way of meeting Goldings, but, you know, anything to relieve the tragic boredom of Tentacool after Tentacool after Tentacool after Tentacool. But unfortunately, there's no Zapdos waiting for us there, and even if I were playing the remakes, beating Blue is a requirement for having the legendary birds appear at their respective locations. So next time we're going to be visiting the power plant, and after that we're going to go on a wild goose chase. We're going to fly here, fly there, fly over there, fly everywhere. This is going to be so much fun!